What's going on, everybody? How's everybody doing this evening? Welcome to the Scott Hogan Golf Show. We're going to be we're going to be doing a little bit of talk tonight. Again, we're doing a little bit about shallowing, about rotation in your golf swing. Let's get to it. What's going on, everybody? Scott Hogan coming at you here tonight. We are going to talk our way through some things here on getting you better at golf. So if you're new to the channels, welcome. We do talk a lot. I'm sure you've seen some of the videos about all the tech and all of that stuff, and all of that is great. But at some point, we need to be able to use it to get better. Okay, and so that is our goal as we're going through, and that's what we like to try to do here. So we're going to be doing that. We do that on Monday nights, trying to give you a little bit of a look, okay? So we're going to be talking about two things in the golf instruction world that are really, really big topics, okay? And that's going to be shallowing and rotation, okay? So those are two big topics, and we talk about them together because they are topics that you are going to want to work on together. They kind of go hand in hand. You can't really do one without the other. So we'll go ahead and go through that. Also, make sure you check out, we have our videos from earlier today. We had some of the training aids and stuff that we've seen at the show. I'm going to be using a couple tonight, but make sure you check those out, and I'll explain a little bit more about how we use those as we go. All right, so as we jump on in here, we're going to start talking about, how are we going to get better at shallowing the golf club, okay? So first up is going to be, how do we shallow the golf club? That is the first rule that we need to do, okay, as we're going through. We need to know how to shallow the club. If you want to have a chance to rotate in your golf swing, you need to know how to shallow that golf club, okay? So first things first, let's talk about what does it mean, or what are people talking about when they mean, hey, let's get shallow to the golf club. Essentially, all they are meaning is, hey, we've got the golf club, we've got this thing that's lined up, it sits something at like this angle on the ground, and we need to basically swing that club on that angle. Now, most people do not swing that club on that angle. They get what we would call steep, coming over, whatever you want to have the term for it, that's what you get, okay? So let's talk a little bit about why those things are happening first. So first off, why are you coming steep? Well, one, you probably have a bad concept of what the golf swing is. So too many people think the swing is straight back, straight through. That's not true. Straight back, straight through will lead to a slice every time, okay? Or some sort of a pull if you happen to shut the face. But also what's going to happen is, when you go and you start to swing, you're going to have to make some sort of compensations. You have to realize that straight back, straight through to a golf club is, I need to swing how the club is built. That is what's going to allow that to happen, okay? That's what's allowing the shallowness to happen. That's what's allowing straight shots to happen. That is what is straight to a golf club, okay? So as we look at this, there's a couple reasons why we don't do this, okay, from a technical standpoint now, okay? There's a concept standpoint, but there's also a technical standpoint, okay? Why wouldn't we be able to swing the club more on the angle it's designed? Well, the first one is, it's going to be, we need to learn how to square up the club face. We have to get this club face square as we go through, okay? So too many people I see, they worry about, hey, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do all this stuff, right? I'm going to turn, I'm going to do all this. And what they forget about is you have to square up the club. And I see this, I browse some of the forums, I browse some of the stuff out there, and what it says, what I do see is, they say that these golf clubs are designed to square themselves up. I couldn't disagree with that more, okay? If anything, these golf clubs, Now, they're not designed to do anything. It's an object. You need to put input into it. I need to do something to make it work, right? People say, let the club do the work. Okay, if I do that, all right, I'm going to hold it here. I'm going to let the club do the work. You know, that's what you're going to get, right? The club doesn't do anything. What we do need to do is learn what we need to put into the club to make it work the best, and also to kind of flow with what the club is trying to do, you know, from a design standpoint. And then what happens is when you swing it that way, you feel like you're not doing a whole lot of work. It feels pretty effortless. So the first thing people do is they try not to square the face. Well, when you do that, what happens is the club face actually opens up. So it gets in this laid back position. It's going to look straight up at the sky. So we need to correct that, because if we have the club like this, we need to do something to try and get the face to square. If I have the club like this and I try to rotate in or come in from the inside, I'm going to hit that ball so far right, it's not even going to be on the planet, right? I might not even make contact. I have seen people do this so bad, they are actually hitting the ball in the back of the club and they don't realize it, okay? Obviously, that's not good. So we need to be able to train this. So I've got a little device here. I've got actually a device from Y Golf. They are the people that make the bunker mat that you see in my live rounds. But they have some great training aids too. So if you're interested in any of this stuff, you can get the same discount you get on the bunker mat through the links. But what we have here is we have what's called the wrist alarm. So as you can see, I've got it on my gloves. So this is where it's helpful. I have my subscription. I do the Red Rooster, where I have multiple gloves, so I can actually keep this clipped on, so it's not too bad to just throw this glove on. But what I'm going to do is just take this, I've got the watch on, or the wristband on, and I'm going to take this little magnet here, and I'm going to attach it, okay, and I'm going to make it make a sound. Hopefully you can hear this. Okay, you should be able to hear a little beep in there, okay? So what's happening is, if my wrist moves into what we call, the technical term is dorsiflexion, and then dorsiflexion is if your wrist moves like this, okay? Some people call it extension. Technically, that's not a real term in the golf world, or the medical world, I should say. But in the golf world, we call it extension, and you can hear it beeps. Obviously, that is not what you want, okay? So it's letting you know you do not want that. Now, when you go through the end of your swing, it's going to happen because you release the club and stuff, but if you're coming down and you're hearing it, that's going to be no good. What we want is what we call palmar flexion, okay? Or simply you hear it in golf circles called flexion. So we just want something like this, okay? So if I bring this back and I do our palmar flexion, here's what you get, okay? I'm going to hold this club up in front. I'm going to flex, palmar flexion. Notice how that club face starts to turn down and you're not hearing any beeping. Notice how if I go the other way and open it, I'll quiet down so you can hear it. It's actually beeping, okay? So our goal is, as we're going through to make a swing, when I go up, I need to get the face to start shutting a little bit, okay? And I need to understand what that looks like. Now, there are a multitude of ways to shut the face, you know, in degrees of shutting the face, okay? You can do that, but all you have to know is you have to be working in that direction, okay? Me personally, I don't want to get something like this. I tend to pull the ball, so I don't want to shut the face too much. I tend to come down more like this, but you can see that's fine. As long as I'm not doing something like this, I'm going to be okay. Again, you can kind of work within that, but you need to know the direction you are coming as you go down. So if I take that, I'm going to bring it up to the top, I'm going to go up, and just by flexing the right direction, you'll notice it's a lot easier to bring that club from that shallow angle back here. And actually I like it because I can work the club back in front of me a lot easier doing it this way. So something like that. You probably heard it beep there. It just beeps right at the end. As we are done, we'll let you see that shot. As it comes up, we'll let you see that trace. There it is, a little tiny draw as we go. That is a 1.8 club path to the right. I'm hitting a 9 iron right now, so 145 total, 132 carry on it, and I didn't put a whole lot of effort into that. So that is always good as we're going through this. So we go back, bring it down. Again, working in the right direction. let's see what we got. There we go. A little tiny pull, but again, if I start shutting it a little much, I get a little bit of a pull. But you can see on the top right, my club path is 0.5 out to the right. So, again, that's what most people are incorporating with shallow is, I want to stop slicing the ball because I don't want to be swinging over the top as we go. So that is one of those ways that you can do this, okay? So getting those wrists into the proper angle, that is a big way that you can do this, okay? So that is number one in the, hey, I need to start shallowing the golf club. Now, the second way, if we're going to start shallowing it, okay, I'm going to take off the wrist part, but we're still going to use our Y golf. This is now going to be the arm alarm. So if I come in here, you're going to see I've got a little string. I'm going to push this over, okay, and I'm going to connect it. It actually connects to the same magnet. Now I've got things here connected where essentially if I pull my arms apart, we're going to get that same beep, okay? This is the critical part to shallowing that I see most people do. Okay, this is also how people stop flipping. Okay, so I'm going to lock in my arm alarm so now it's at the same distance. It can't get any wider. Okay, what happens to people when they try to swing, and a lot of times it happens because they're trying to hit down on the ball, is these arms go up and they lose their structure. So what happens is they essentially start pulling apart, and there's a variety of places it happens. It can happen on the way down, pulls apart. Whatever it happens, you can do that, right? Like it's going to pull apart, you're going to hear this beeping, okay? So what people need to realize is when you're swinging, you have to maintain structure as you go through. That is going to be a massive help into shallowing the golf club. And this is actually something I work on a ton because I'll go up and as I transition, I can do this sometimes. And you can see that cord has pulled out, this elbow gets out of whack, and look what happens to the golf club. It is now standing up and I've got to do something to try to shallow that club out. So we do not want that. So what I like to do is try to work within those arms, again, keeping some structure, and just get a feel for hitting some shots. So again, a little close face there, but my club path, 2.4 to the right, and that swing is going to make much better contact with the golf ball, and I'm going to be able to control my strike. Okay, you can see I can even make it go more into out as we go. So that's one of the big things that I see people do is if you want to control how shallow you can get, control your arms. Because as I go up, if I can keep the distance in my arms constant, not spreading them apart, okay, watch what happens as we go. Okay, square the face up a little. We are in good shape as we go through, okay? So here we go, one more. There we go. That time I didn't shut the face too much. We like that shot. We'll go ahead, let you see it right down the line. Club path 1.1 right. You know, I had some of those fours and everything in there as we went. And there we go. You can see very good shot, a very good strike as we go through. Okay, so we need to work on hands and arms controlling the shallow. So let's take this idea real quick, okay, of shallowing. Okay, and I'm going to talk about a way that people try to do it and why it's not the greatest way. Okay, so here's how I see people try to shallow. They try to go up and they try to do something like this. Okay, they try to do something like that. One, it's not what's really happening, right? They're thinking, okay, we need to get this shoulder to externally rotate. That's not true. What happens is the shoulder is actually internally rotating on the way down. Okay, so we're getting some, you know, there's a little bit up here, but it's coming back to internal as we go through all the way. So we don't need to get this big motion. That's crazy hard to do. But the other thing that happens is people try to do this move, and then they go down to the ball, and these arms split. And you can hear it beep. So when they do that, that club is getting steep. You know, yeah, it looks kind of shallow here, but it's super steep as you're going to hit the ball because you got to get a way to hit it. You know, and then they try to turn around the corner, and you know, now you're doing things that you really can't do. Plus, you're not actually getting steep or shallow. You're getting steep anyway, so it's not exactly working. So again, I like to see a little bit of control in these arms as we go through. And even on a slight miss hit there, see, not too bad as far as where we're going. Okay, so that's what we're looking at as we're going through, and we're using this arm alarm and trying to help out our game. So a really good way for us to start working on, hey, this is where our arms are going to go, and our arms are going to control where that club goes. Just think about it working through the chain of the swing from the club head back to your body. But we need to have those parts working if we want to see stuff going and working really well. So that's going to be the first part as we go through, is we got to get shallow, and that's how we do it. So when we move into our next part, okay, now we said, all right, now that we're able to get that club shallow, now we can get to rotating. Okay, so we need those parts first. Okay, and you can see you can hit the ball pretty darn well just by doing that. Okay, and what is also going to happen is you are going to get a lot of freebies in your swing. You're going to get a lot of freebies where, hey, I actually do start rotating. I do start doing some things. So I want to talk a little bit about rotation first, and we're going to use some devices here as we go through this. But before we do that, I want to talk a little bit about, okay, we're going to do a little bit of work with talking about some force plates and some force pedals, okay? So we're going to be working a little bit with those. So these force pedals are just going to be some, you know, essentially some silicone discs. Again, I'll link them down below. But these are great because these really help people understand what is going on and how to generate rotation, okay? So again, I think people think of rotation as its own thing. You know, they think, all right, I'm going to rotate. So I'm going to go back, and then I'm just going to rotate through, okay? The problem with that is, one, it's not how it works, but two, you're going to get no power, and three, you're going to get out of alignment when you do that. So what you need to have happen is, again, if you've met the first right criteria of, hey, this is where the club is, and this is where the face is, and this is how my arms are working well, we can move into this next part of how do we rotate. Well, we do that by using the ground, okay? So when I set up here, okay, I'm going to be setting up with these force plates. I've got the yellow one under my right foot, the orange one under my left foot. What we need to realize is if we want to rotate better in our swing, where that comes from, okay, is it comes from us pushing into the ground, okay? So when I go back, I'm going to feel like I smash this yellow disc. I'm going to smash the disc, which then is going to create rotation as I go back, okay? So you're going to feel it kind of load into this trail leg, and then as you turn, your body's going to keep turning, and as you turn, what happens is my body turns and then it starts to fall back towards the target. So then what happens is you feel like you're going to squish on this front orange ball. You'll notice I've got the yellow one under my right heel, I've got the front one under my left, the balls of my feet. Okay, so I'm kind of creating, if you think about it, it's where I'm pushing, that's going to create some torque in my body. Torque is rotation. So what I can do then is hit these shots, okay, by pressure, let my body turn until it starts to fall back into the lead, the orange force pedal, and then push down on it and push with that, and that's going to create that motion of getting my body to turn, okay? So it looks something like this as we go. I'll try to get a Good spot. Make sure I'm far enough away. Push, push, and go. Okay? And as I do that, again, I have to keep some of the things that I did in my swing prior. Okay? I had to keep some of the things I did in my swing prior, such as club face has got to be somewhat square. That one a little too square. A little off of my hitting area too. But I need to be able to get some feeling that my body is going to be able to work through, and it comes through that torque generation as we go. Okay? This is where I see a lot of people that I teach, you know, they're so worried about like swaying and things like that, but you need to sway. Swaying happens. We can pull it up. If we look at it on Sports Box or any of those, we would see, yes, you will sway. They all sway, okay? It's just, as they do it, they're doing it properly. They're not just swaying back. They are pressing, and it turns them back, but they are swaying as they do it, and then they sway back and let it go. That ball there, I carried 150 yards in the air, 150.6, so I got some speed on that one. I don't even feel like I hit it that good. 149.9. Pretty straight there too. So that's nice as we go through. So we can start seeing how we generate some power and some rotation as we go through. So again, as I do that, if I'm seeing, hey, I'm getting a little steep or whatever, then I would go back and check my arms a little bit. But that's going to be the key thing that we look at as we go through and say, all right, hey, this is how we're going to generate some rotation. First off, we got to get the club in a position that will allow us to rotate, and then we have to understand how footwork helps us generate this. So I'm going to do it one more time here. I'm going to use just a little different device to show the same thing, essentially. Just show you push, push, through. Okay? And what you're going to see is I'm going to be rocking on this board. So I'm going to rock it back, forward, and keep it forward as I go through. And that will help me generate that rotation. So push, push, go. And one thing you'll notice as we do that, you probably can see it, the board is actually turned. Okay? The board turns as we go through it. That is because of those forces I'm pushing. That is what creates that ability to rotate. Okay? So we just need to get those legs in it. We got to understand, hey, what parts are controlling what. Don't just get up there and say, hey, I'm going to turn. Work on your footwork. This is why you see golfers, they're in the gym, they do a ton of leg work, they do a ton of squats, and they're doing, deadlifts, and they're doing, different leg motions like stability and stuff like that while they're rotating, right? So like they're going to be on a band doing a squat, then a rotation, something like that, right? Those are the things that they are trying to accomplish as they go through and do this move. So I want you to just, as we hit one more, take a look at that board, okay? Keep your eyes on the board down, and just watch as I hit this. Watch what happens to the board as I put force in it as we go. Okay? That one didn't turn as much. I could feel that one. Kind of gripped the ground a little bit, but definitely had that feel to it. As I'm going, that board wants to turn back as I'm going through because I am pushing with this lead foot back this way to actually get it to turn. So that's how we're going to add some rotation into our motion going through our swing, okay? So again, kind of looking at everything, that's going to be how that swing works. If you have questions about it, please let me know in the comments. We will have more coming up talking about different things that we can have going on with our swings. So make sure you do not miss out on that. But as always, thanks everybody for tuning in. We got more coming up. Cheer on my buddy Michael Hopper. He's playing in the waste management. Went to college with him and I've known him for a long time now. And he's in his third start in the waste management. And I believe he's made 2 in the Shriners. He gets those for winning the section championship down there in Arizona. So cheer him on. He has a bet. I think he's plus 10,000 or something. If you want to sprinkle on him a little bit. But we'll have a little fun with it, watching it, and, it's always a good time of the year. So we'll see you next time. on the Scott Hogan Golf Show. Thanks everybody for tuning in, and thanks for watching. We'll see you then. Peace.